we're America's team. We're a team built on underdogs. We're a team built on young men with something to prove. We got a Division II transfer running back who's leading the SEC in rushing. We got a bunch of fighters.
And welcome back into the Tiger Kickoff Show presented by the Columbia Missourian. I'm your host, Harrison Vapnek from KOMU Sports, joined alongside the beat writers of the Mizzou football team. I'm a little tired, guys. It's been a long week. Wendell Shepherd, Ryerson, Brandon Haynes. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving break. Hope you guys had a good trip to Arkansas. Glad to be back here in the studio, the normal studio, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a long time for the two of us. We were at home over the break.
Still been a week for us, so
yeah,
a little bit.
Longest in a while. Everyone have a fun trip to Fayetteville? As Ryerson told me, a mini Nashville.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with their downtown scene. It was like the most college town that I would have expected out of Arkansas. I mean, it was just like they got 2-story bars, live music. It was really cool, and I wasn't expecting it in the middle of Arkansas. So
yeah, a lot of people. I talked to a reporter before. It said Fayetteville's one of the best college towns in the SEC. It was definitely pretty cool.
And it was one of the best performances in that SEC town by the Missouri Tigers to improve to 10-2 to finish off the regular season. A 48-14, basically destruction of the Arkansas Razorbacks. They led wire to wire. It was another huge game from Cody Schrader. It was one of the best games of the season for the defense, scoring yet another touchdown. And Brady Cook was efficient yet again. Didn't even have to do much in the second half. Sat essentially the whole fourth quarter. Maybe the best start-to-finish game all season long for the Tigers when they really needed to finish off the regular season to clinch that New Year's Six Bowl. What was your instant reaction, Wendell, from Friday's win?
That's just, that's exactly how you want to end the season. 4 quarter downs, like you said. From a point standpoint, I mean, your best performance of the year. That's exactly how you want to go out. Everything was clicking: special teams, defense, offense. Another big day for Cody Schrader. It was a great day for Mizzou.
Cody Schrader, again, 217 yards. He's now about 115 shy of the single-season record for rushing yards in Missouri history. We'll talk about more about that in a second. But what did he do so well, breaking off a couple 40-yard runs, scoring at the goal line? How did he find success against what was a decent Arkansas defense?
Yeah, his vision is always phenomenal. He always knows where to cut, and when he needs to cut, he's got an amazing one cut. But you got to shout out that offensive line and the wide receivers, too, for the downfield blocks that they were getting. Drinkwitz said in the beginning of the year, after week 1 and week 2, that he was not happy with how the wide receivers were performing with blocking, and he got whatever he did, it worked out because Mookie Cooper's making blocks downfield. Luther Burden's making blocks downfield. Everybody is, and then you got Javon Foster, Xavier Delgado, all making insane blocks on some of those big runs. If you watch back and watch the tape back and some of those big runs, Cody Schrader's getting untouched through the line. I mean, there's 7 yards of space for him to run through, so yeah.
Brandon, the Missouri defense, another great game for them. Jaden Jernigan had the scoop and score touchdown. Even though KJ Jefferson went down on one of Arkansas's first plays of the game, a play that was actually a turnover forced by the Tigers. Their backup, Jacoby Criswell, who was a North Carolina transfer, has been there for, I think, a couple of years now. Couldn't generate any offense. You would have thought he had never really played much quarterback before, based on the pressure that Missouri was getting to him, forcing turnovers, deflecting passes. How were they able to dominate so much from that front?
Yeah, I think coming into the game, we knew Arkansas's offensive line was probably the biggest weakness there on offense. They have a lot of the most sacks in the SEC, and Mizzou kind of just exposed that, constantly sent pressure. Drinkwitz said that they didn't really change the scheme once KJ Jefferson was out of the game, but I think you could see they dialed up the pressure a lot against Criswell, just knowing that he'd be uncomfortable in the pocket. He wasn't able to escape the pocket much, just being a bigger body quarterback, so it didn't really affect him the way it did against Florida when Max Brown came in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that I think Mizzou was able to kind of adapt to that, even though it was another backup quarterback that came in there. But overall, just their ability to make the key plays at the right times. I think 5 turnovers total, 4 there by the defense in particular. So I just think they were able to kind of make the big plays that they've kind of been lacking at times throughout the season that just kind of pushed their offense in a chance to even win, and when Brady Cook didn't have the best of days.
Yeah, and I don't think they needed another big game from Cook because they were already up, 17-0 pretty early in the game. They were up 20-0 at the half, and then Brett Norfleet had the 2, second half touchdowns to really ice it up. We saw that fight happen in the first half. Basically 2 straight plays when there was the late hit on Brady Cook, and then there's the scuffle after a run play on that first and goal. What was Drinkwitz's reaction that he told you after the game? Because this was pretty funny.
Yeah, I asked him after the game just what he made of the whole situation. He was like, we were here to play football, they were here to fight. I think there's just these programs are heading in such different directions at the moment, and I think it's, for a lot of fans, on either side, you're taking a lot different. I think Mizzou fans are really enjoying it. Arkansas fans are kind of on the ropes right now because, it was just a really kind of undisciplined performance from Arkansas. Even after that, there were some late hits, pushing and shoving after plays. But I think Mizzou handled it well, and I think that's the response you want to see. When your quarterbacks hit hard late after a play, and and when the fight broke out, it was Cameron Johnson getting taken down by an Arkansas guy. Minbu stepped in and defended his guy. I think that's the response you want to see. And a play later, they score a touchdown. So that just kind of shows the mentality of this team. They're going to go out and fight for each other, and they're still going to kick butt.
And Adam and Brandon, we talk all season, the motto, something to prove. If it even feels like, when the other team essentially literally fighting back against you guys, the amount for this team to prove to stand up for each other, because I think this is kind of shows the growth of a program, because, chemistry issues kind of a question in the past. This year, you can already see the brotherhood. Cody Schrader talked about after the game, how tight-knit this team is. When Arkansas fought and Missouri fought back, they were fighting for each other. And just how does that show, the close tight-knit of this program and how they've kind of grown over the year?
I think that's what you want out of a band of brothers. I mean, that's what a football team is. It's a bunch of guys that have one common goal. And you want them to, if one person's fighting for something, you want everybody to be fighting for that thing. And in the first, the kind of the spark to the fight on the run play was what Wendell mentioned, or what you mentioned earlier, that scuffle. Brady Cook got hit out of bounds, and then you see 5 gigantic human beings just entourage over to that Arkansas sideline and standing up for Brady Cook. That's what you want to see from your linemen. I had a coach that always said, get to the ball carrier. Whether it was a 2-yard run or a 20-yard run, you got to be there to pick them up. And that's the same mentality that this Mizzou team has.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on just that whole situation?
Less on the scuffle, more on the brotherhood and identity. I think that's kind of what has made Mizzou what it is this year, to be completely honest. Last year, obviously, they lost, I think it was 4 one-score games, especially in SEC play. They just struggled to kind of put the game away. But that brotherhood and bond, they found a way to buy into each other, buy into Drinkwitz, just buy into the program. And I think that's something we're seeing, especially this year and kind of as the season comes to a close, that they've put kind of all of it together and that they know that they have each other's backs. They can go to the depths and fight out with each other, and that's just something that a team kind of needed, like Mizzou. When they needed a big season, they've been able to do it because they were able to buy into each other and just have that camaraderie amongst each other.
Cody Schrader. Verdon said after the game that he is the shredder. Drinkwitz said after the game that, give this guy the Heisman. He's right now second in the nation in rushing yards, only behind Oklahoma State's Ollie Gordon II. Do you think that Cody Schrader should be in the Heisman conversation or at least the Doak Walker Award, possibly even win the award?
I think Doak Walker is a much more reasonable conversation. If the Heisman and a lot of MVP awards have turned into a quarterback award, which, be that as it may, based on running backs that have won in the past, although Schrader's had a fantastic season, you can't ask for any more from the guy. He's not quite at those numbers that, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram were at, but he's having a great season. I definitely think he should be in the Doak Walker conversation. I don't think anyone in college football should even come close to him for the Burlsworth Trophy for, best, most outstanding player that started as a walk-on. I mean,
I don't even know who else would win it.
Yeah, his story is incredible, and he's, the leading rusher in the SEC. He still has a chance to be the leading rusher in all of college football coming, as a walk-on a year ago. So, I mean, he's been fantastic and, one of the best players of this team this season.
Adam, where do you stand on the Cody Schrader Heisman, Doak Walker narrative?
I'm pretty much the same way that Wendell is, but, I mean, Oklahoma State's got a dog in Ollie Gordon. That guy, if you didn't watch that Oklahoma State BYU game, they were down, I believe, 24-3, and he single-handedly came back and won that game for Oklahoma State. 5 total touchdowns, including overtime. He's a dog. If you have the time, watch that Texas-Oklahoma State Big 12 championship, because it's going to be one of the best rushing defenses against who I consider to be the best running back in college football. Give him a chance. I mean, he is so amazing to watch. The way he bounces off of tackles and makes things happen it's something special.
It's not Kirk Herbstreit over here. We're going to be fired up on College Game Day for the Big 12 championship. Cody Schrader, just a story unbelievable. Brandon Haynes. Do we think that he can maybe turn this into the pros? I know it's looking too far ahead from Schrader. He's been one of the best running backs in all the SEC, but feels like every time the SEC leading rusher has gone on to play in the NFL, do we think that could be in the cards for Schrader?
Yeah, I'm no NFL draft expert. Leave that to Ryerson here. He probably knows a little bit more about draft stock and stuff like that. But I think with Cody Schrader, what you see is he's doing this against SEC-level defenses. And I think at the professional level, you got to at least take a look at that. And whether it be as a late-round pick or undrafted player, he's been counted out before, and each time he's shown that he can step up in those moments. So I don't know how much talk he will get, but I feel like if you give him a chance to compete, he will make the most of the opportunity he gets. And he's a hard runner. He's a guy that has earned at least small comparisons to how Austin Eckler plays, just probably less of a pass catching back, but just the way he runs, how in the fourth quarter he's still going to bully you and just kind of test the defenses. So I just think with that, looking at that kind of comparison stuff, that a team will take a chance on him, and as they should. I just think if you put out that much effort and I guess stats against an SEC level defense, you should get the looks.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, the only thing I was going to say is another thing that's in his advantage is that there isn't really a strong running back class this class. There's no Bijan Robinson. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs. And I'd be shocked if there's if the first running back comes off the board in rounds 1 or 2. I think it's going to be a lot of late pick running backs and guys that you want to take a shot on. And Cody Schrader, if I'm an NFL scout, that's the guy I want to take a shot on. That's the guy who has the motivation, has the hard work. I know he's going to be good in the locker room. And then he's got, he might not have the measurables, but he's got the one cut. He's got the vision, and he's got everything that if you're running a zone run scheme, he's comfortable in that. So he can be immediate backup right in there. So
not only that, just his durability. We've seen Cody Schrader play through a torn quad. Just his ability to stay out there, and obviously at the running back position, I think NFL GMs and teams in general are looking at running backs as we want somebody who can come in here, be a durable piece, who can consistently output, especially when it's kind of like an expendable position there now.
And you mentioned the pass catching part of it. We haven't seen that a ton. In the one game we did see it, he had over 100 yards against Tennessee because you gave the Austin Eckler comparison, but we haven't seen him in that pass offense role. I think in the NFL, if he was more of a receiving back, I think he could have strong success there too. So I don't think it's out of the cards that Schrader could be in an NFL running back rotation next season. Missouri's number 9 in the AP rankings that came out on Sunday. They'll very likely be number 9 again in the college football playoff rankings on Tuesday. In the position for a New Year's Six Bowl, I think we'd all be shocked if they were not. The Ole Miss Missouri argument, real fast. This has been exploding all over Twitter X. The Ole Miss fans are not happy with Missouri because apparently they beat LSU but lost to Georgia by 50, and Missouri lost to Georgia by 10 or 9 and lost to LSU basically in a one-score game. Are Ole Miss fans justified, or is this just complete nonsense?
It's nonsense. There's so many fan bases in the SEC, Ole Miss included, who for some reason think they're, at the level of Georgia, Bama, LSU's, where they, just because of name recognition or because they think they look better, they should be ahead of a team like Mizzou, who the last month and a half, 2 months, has genuinely played like one of the best teams in the country, has gone toe-to-toe with Georgia, has dominated, largely everyone else. The Florida game was close, but I mean, there's the argument that the ranked wins they do have, none of those teams are ranked anymore, but that's out of Mizzou's control. They handled business in those games. Ole Miss, I mean, you beat LSU, but LSU's still ranked below both of those teams. It's a very flimsy argument, and I think Mizzou fans should be pretty comfortable.
I'm not even sure what Ole Miss's full argument is. They have the non-conference win against Tulane. That was a Tulane backup quarterback. Missouri beat Kansas State. Missouri is the best non-conference win of any team in the SEC. They beat Kansas State. It's probably going to fall out of the top 25, but they're pretty highly power rated.
Right.
Missouri beat them at home with their actual starting quarterback, unlike Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I don't think. Have you seen their defense? One of the lowest power rating defenses in the SEC. And do you think that they have an argument for a New Year's Six spot?
I think that Ole Miss would have a month and a half ago. But, I mean, the loss to Georgia was so brutal, and it was so poorly timed for them.
Uncompetitive also.
That's the thing, is the fact that both of Missouri's losses were competitive. And Ole Miss's loss to Georgia, it wasn't a game for 4 quarters of football. And when that loss happened, I think is the most important thing, because they were ahead of Mizzou. But Mizzou was right knocking on that door of the top 10 at that point. And then you lose as Ole Miss. I don't know how after you lose, there's nothing on the rest of your schedule that says you should jump Mizzou, and then you beat Mississippi State 17-7. You need to get at least a giant convincing win like Mizzou did against Arkansas if you want to have a chance to jump Mizzou, and they didn't do it. So I don't think that if you're an Ole Miss fan, you should be mad that Mizzou is ahead, because I don't think since you lost to Georgia, you've done anything to pass Mizzou. Do I think they should get a New Year's Six spot? maybe. I really hope Iowa doesn't get one just
No, they
because
won't.
I
Don't
know
worry.
I just really don't want to see them in the New Year's Six because that's going to be a boring game.
Iowa versus Ole Miss in the Citrus Bowl. Their fans can have it out in that argument.
That'd be a great matchup. Let's see if Jackson Dart and Judkins can actually go against a really good defense.
Ole Miss's defense against Iowa's offense. That could be a field day for the Hawkeyes. Right. Brandon, back over to you. This whole Missouri-Ole Miss stuff. Did they remember the Ole Miss-Arkansas game? I'm sure they have common opponents. That was early in the year.
It was a close game.
Yeah, because Ole Miss, all they have done is play close games with A&M, close game with Arkansas. If Missouri played Ole Miss, who do you think would win?
I think Mizzou would win just because of Ole Miss's defense. But I think the committee spoke weeks ago when they put Mizzou above Ole Miss. Like Adam said, you were going to need a huge victory over pretty much a very good opponent, and instead they had a 10-point victory over Mississippi State.
And then posted a minute-long
meme
troll.
video,
Meme video, it's
like
serious.
Ole Miss is like this. They had such a poor season, and obviously external factors with their coach passing away in the off season. It's just congratulations, you beat the worst Mississippi State team in recent memory.
Yeah. So there's that. I just also think just with kind of what Mizzou has played, you got to look at those margins of victory, margins of defeat, and obviously Mizzou's is a much different story than Ole Miss's, and Mizzou's consistently played teams close. Even in the loss to LSU, they played close. And, if you look at it, the main reason even that the LSU scores inflated is just Brady Cook's pick six at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You take that away, it's another three-point game. Then your average is 6. So against Georgia and LSU, which, anybody would take that. So I just think you look at the games, you got to consider the circumstances, kind of how it is. And Mizzou has just put together such a better resume in terms of that and the way they've played consistently. Like Wendell said, the last month and a half of the season, they've looked like one of the best teams in football. I don't think any team wants to play Mizzou right now, regardless whether it was for a bowl game, for a championship, something like that. I just think Mizzou's a team people are watching out for. And so I just think Mizzou obviously is more deserving than Ole Miss.
What do you got, Adam, real fast?
Just the other thing about the LSU win is you had to put up 55 points to beat them, which is great if LSU didn't have the worst defense in the SEC and one of the bottom 10 defenses in the country. But still, that was good. You almost lost that game because you left a wide receiver uncovered in the end zone on the last play of the game, and it hit him in the hands. You had a great play to break it up by your linebacker, but you were a half step away from losing that game to LSU.
Yeah.
And it wasn't convincing. That's the thing that I
They need to come back. They were down double digits in that game.
Exactly.
Also.
It wasn't a convincing performance, and that's just something else I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, real fast, let's do our MVPs of the regular season for Missouri. We'll do our top plays of the year next week. I'll actually go first. Luther Burden III. Last year, this guy was barely involved in the offense, didn't have a ton of 100-yard games, didn't have a ton of multi-touchdown games. That all swung from basically the first game of this year. We had a great catch against South Dakota, but it basically started off would be an unbelievable season. Had the great game against Memphis, was great against LSU, was great against Vanderbilt. Just packed up good games on good games, and just kind of sealed it with the home game against Tennessee, and then 4th and 17 against Florida. It was kind of the season of Luther Burden, and I'm thinking even next year in his 3rd year in Columbia, could be even the best one. So my MVP of the 2023 season is Luther Burden III. Wendell, who is yours?
Mine, we've talked about him plenty. The Shredder, Cody Schrader. We've talked about him plenty, but he's completely, he's given this offense another dimension. The passing game was really the main threat earlier in the season, and Schrader's just taken over as the season's gone on. He's given this offense so much more juice, and he's the MVP for me.
Adam Ryerson, who's your MVP?
For me, it's Chris Abrams-Strain. I think if I'm going to do a draft grade, he's probably who I have the highest right now. He leads the SEC in pass breakups, number 3 in interceptions with 4 of them. And in a secondary that's kind of been shaky and a little injured all year, he's been the one solid piece that has been performing well all season long. And even a lot of those deep balls that got caught on him, like we saw, I believe it was Thornton do for Tennessee, they had to make insane plays on blanket coverages. He's been absolutely outstanding this year. He's going to have his name called come draft time. And
round 1.
Oh, yes. I believe he'll be a round 1 talent. And, he's just been probably the most consistent piece on that defense all season long.
Brandon Haynes, MVP.
Yeah, I think this is a fan favorite, obviously, Harrison Mevis. Story's been told, Adam talked about it last week, but just his ability to step up in crucial moments when Mizzou needed it. He shook off some early woes in the season where he was missing some field goals, missed his first extra point of his collegiate career, but he was able to kind of bounce back and just show that resiliency that comes with being an SEC kicker. And I think he's a guy that could see himself on an NFL team next fall. So I just think it's something, probably not in the draft, I would say, but an undrafted free agent, just somebody that can step up, make the big kick when you need it. I think we saw yesterday in some of these NFL games that the NFL is searching for kickers who can step up and make big kicks and long field goals. And Harrison Vapnek has shown that he is one of the top kickers in the nation with that type of leg. So I think just with how he's kind of performed this season, he's an MVP for Mizzou.
And we'll definitely see at least one Harrison Vapnek field goal in our top plays of the season coming up on next week's show. But before then, we'll be bowling essentially. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be starting to project Missouri's bowl matchup later this week, talking how they would match up maybe against a Texas, against an Oklahoma State, against a Tulane. We'll go through all of the top teams. Stay tuned for that. It'll be very exciting right here on the Tiger Kickoff Show. I'm Harrison Vapnek. We'll see you next time.